anyway, all over. And I really want to thank her. She asked me to be in her lineup a few years ago, and I've not really delivered, I feel like, on my end as far as the work to the gallery. I've had maybe 3 or 4 pieces that she's had in her mix. And so I felt like having a show would be kind of cool. And this year, I sort of set this goal to myself to do a show of all new work. And that's what this is. So I'm checking this box off on that goal. So last year, I don't know if you guys know my work prior to this, but a lot of my stuff was very clean, very geometric, very organized, very super crisp, poppy, fun. It made you happy, kind of. A lot of it. There was some that were really had maybe a little bit of a dark concept to it, but it was still fun, and I kind of tried to make you smile. And I didn't really know exactly, I didn't have anything planned out when I did that. I've just always done art for fun. It's been a way to entertain myself. I didn't really think about the deep psychological background of it, or why I did it, and I'd see artists that put these deep meanings and a lot of dark work, and it was just like, some of it was really impressive, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Then I would see, artists that were bright and fun, and I don't know, I just aligned myself more with those. So last year I had a couple things happen. One, I was in a car accident it was about a year ago. It was in September, and I was with a friend who was, I think he had a couple drinks in him, and he was just acting kind of crazy and almost controlled the car. We hit a tree. Well, I broke 3 ribs. I didn't really tell, a lot of friends don't even know this, but I broke 3 ribs, and just, then, well, it was a little bit before that, I went in for, I'm 54, so you have colonoscopies when you're in your 50s. It's really fun. Well, I had a colonoscopy about a year ago, and I come out of it, they're like, yeah, you've got diverticulitis, it's like not that big a deal, but you also have a spot on your pancreas. We need to watch it. So we're going to biopsy it, and I'm like, what's this mean? They go, well, it can turn into cancer, but it doesn't look like it. And I'm like, can I look at these? And I actually have a buddy who's a radiologist, and he let me come over. We looked at these images, and they were just like gray, like very low level gradients of gray. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, this is the cyst. And I'm like, I'm an artist, I look at stuff. I don't even know how you. So anyway, I started rethinking like my whole life about what I was doing up to that point. I didn't know if I was going to die in a year or if I had many more years. We had the biopsy, it came back negative. I've got basically, everything's fine. I've got to pay for like this fancy CAT scan every 6 months or MRI, and we just look at it. And that's going to happen, I guess, for the rest of my life. If they find something growing, then we take action. So in a way, it's awesome because I found out, right? The problem with pancreatic cancer is people don't have any symptoms until it's too late. So I feel really fortunate that we found this, because if something happens, we're going to have a head start on it. And so that's that. I don't want to get into whatever. People dealt with way more. Yeah. Well, it's just kind of made me, realize my mortality and all, and what have I been doing and all this. And up till last year, art was in a way a party. Really not last year, it was more like 2019, I'll talk about that. But art was not a party, but it was just a fun thing, it was a fun escape. Okay, I'll go into how did I get in Oklahoma? And you guys chime in anytime. So I was born in 1970, my dad was a preacher. He moved us almost every year. I moved zigzagged all over. Later I was thinking zigzag, geometry, geometric art. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but we lived in 9 different cities by the time I was 12. So I lived in Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky, born in Indiana, Ohio, Alabama, and then Arizona. I lived in the 80s, high school, junior high, and my dad left us in '86. I was 16, and my mom was just kind of scrambling with, I gotta get him to a school. So she wanted me to go to Christian school. Well, I was horrible in school, right? We moved so much, I was just really bad at everything except for art. Because we moved all the time, all I did was draw. And Mom was really encouraging. She kept all the scrapbooks, or she kept everything in a scrapbook. Every little drawing, I still have them. I should have brought those up. They're hilarious. But it was like my little escape. So when I was like 18, I'm like, what am I gonna do? Well, there was this career in the school, the school catalog called graphic design. I didn't really even know what it was. And Mom's like, there's a school in Oklahoma that's a Christian school. They've got a really good graphic design program, and it's headed up by this punk rock dude named Michael O'Keefe. Thank you, Michael. You can blame him for me and for this show ultimately. Yeah. So I came out here for what I thought would be 2 years. Mom remarried to my stepdad, moved to Houston, and you blink and it's 30 years have gone by, So this town and state has been good to me. I consider it home now. It's like I don't know. It's been great. I got into graphic design and I fell in love with it. I didn't know what it was, and it became something that people pay me for my ideas, and it was really fun. We racked up many hours on the foosball table at the ad agencies and just banging around ideas, coming up with campaigns, and it was all awesome. You never really made much money at it, but I really enjoyed it, and I really I was proud of it, that I had a career, sort of. And so whenever I could do it, I would try to squeeze in an illustration here and there and do an ad campaign, or if a product came in, I'd do, okay, I'm gonna do a little Matt Goad thing on this beer can or on this barbecue sauce or whatever. So I was always doing that, and it wasn't until early 2000s, I was doing a brochure for what is now Oklahoma Contemporary, then it was called City Arts Center. And Clint Stone came in. He was like their creative director or something. And he's like, he saw some paintings. I was doing these stencil paintings because I knew that I was never going to be like a classical painter, blending oils and all this. I know because I tried. I did it in school, and I had a friend, Jennifer Ma, who was right next to me, easel next to me. She could do that really well. Like, I am not cut out for that. I have no ability in that. But what I did take was a printmaking class with O'Keefe, and it was like you kind of take away, and what's left is what the art is. And there was something about working in that negative space and the graphicness of it. Everything before that, I tried to draw what I saw. And from then on, I started stylizing my stuff to be more, I used to call it more chunky, and that ended up turning it, and I was always obsessed with this mix of artists. I still am today. And they're all mixed into it. And sometimes you can identify, you go, hey, you copied off of this guy. And I'm like, I might have, and I didn't know it, but he's definitely in my mix. And I always think of that as, I don't feel like I'm copying, I feel like that's just the mix of influences. And every famous artist that I love had a mix of influences that are pretty clear if you look back at their career. Certainly Picasso did. So African art, was a big influence on Picasso. But so anyway, I think I'm kind of going all over the place, but that's how I got into the design, into developing a style. So I started doing these happier paintings with stencils in the 2000s, and I was in a show called Pop Art Surrealism, and I did these big cowboys that were fighting each other. I thought it'd be cool if you were in the gallery and they're shooting at each other, and there was even sound effects of bullets and like spaghetti western vibe. And I still love that whole thing, and I don't know, I may do another series, but that was the first paintings I did, and they sold, and from then on I just slowly started doing more and more. And like I said, from then on it was just about having fun, coming up with a fun idea like cowboys fighting each other, and entertaining myself with it, and kind of enjoying the fact that I don't know, people liked it. I don't know. I didn't think much about it, like I said, like deep, introspective. What does this mean for me, you know? And so last year, well, let me back up, I'm sorry. In 2019, I won the commission to do the Oklahoma City Airport. It was like a major deal for me. I'd never done anything close to that level. I put in a submission. All I had done up to that point were some murals, some paintings and things. And I put together my submission, and they made me a finalist. I don't know why. I still don't know why they would have done that. But they did. And once I became a finalist, I went through kind of some personal stuff in 2019, and I just locked the door in the house and threw myself. I had a month and a half to design that airport. Nothing, no one called. My other clients never called me. It was awesome. It was kind of creepy and scary. It's like, oh shit. But I was able to throw myself into the work of that airport project, and I did everything I could. I read every book. I interviewed with Bob Blackburn. I went all over the state. I looked at everything in the history of Oklahoma and all this, and I learned so much about Oklahoma. I read Tour of the Prairies. Have you guys ever read that? Washington Irving. You should read it. It's awesome. It's like a time machine to 1834 Oklahoma, before it was called Oklahoma.
The worst hard time. I bet Bob right that.
What's that?
The worst hard time.
Yeah, it was a weird.
What's that?
The worst hard time.
Yeah.
That's one Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Photographs.
Okay. When's it set, or is it
Dust
just
Bowl.
the history?
Dust Bowl.
It's Dust Bowl, really.
It's
Okay.
regional. It touches on Oklahoma, Kansas, and the ones that are affected by Dust Bowl. But they're personal stories that are just phenomenal and give you a scope of what it was like there, and people just digging down and having disasters.
Yeah.
That's a sad look.
Yeah. Well, I used that whole Dust Bowl idea and specs from like an explosion, a boom and dust. I put a lot of that into the concept for the airport, because terrazzo is like specs, right? So I had that like a thread going through. I really thought that whole presentation through to the nth degree, and I had the whole thing, the presentation dialed in. Like, one thing I was good at was giving presentations with a great PowerPoint type of thing, some animation and some like slides hitting on the exact word I want them to and all that. And I nailed it on the presentation. I made these art pieces that were the submission for every juror, and I didn't know this, but I smoked the other four. I went way overboard. Like, I should have done way less work. I still would have won it. And now I know, as I've done a few more public art submissions, you put together your idea, because I just swung for the fences because I had nothing to lose. And later I found out that I really did get beginner's luck. I work with Stan, and we've submitted for, I don't know, 20 some, and we've gotten one. It's a good one, but it's not an easy gig. Oh my God, it's like the most competitive. Nashville was an RFP. They actually sent out a public request for art. So they had 67 artists submit art. And it was a gamble. I was like, I don't know if this is ethical for us to do free work, but I did it. With Oklahoma City, they gave you a stipend, right? So we at least had some. They gave us each, I think, $4,000, and I think I spent 20 on my proposal, because all the things I built for it, and I hired Adam Landman to render out images of the art in the airport, and it looks like a photograph. Anyway, I should have brought one of those. But that whole project, that happened, and I won it, and I just went through the darkest mental period of my life. What you think would be the highlight or the most pinnacle of awesome, it was opposite in my head. I lost 60 pounds, I tried to kill myself, all this shit happened. And it was just like such a weird thing. I think I sent my shrink around the world a few times on some vacations. I don't know, that's...
With billables?
Yeah. I had him, anyway. Yeah, so So after that, I started questioning my art. Like, what am I doing? And in this clean stuff, I realized that clean, fun art is the exact opposite of what is happening in my head and my emotions all my life growing up. Oh, wow. So, and then I realized the cleaner and the more fun and the brighter, it's the darker my subconscious feels. So I was actually creating work that, I don't know if it, I would say compensated, that's not it. It was a form of therapy without knowing it, but it was more like, it was just equal opposite of the organization of the geometry and the conceptual precision and the colors, the brightness, the vibrancy of the colors. It was my brain, my emotions were opposite. It was chaotic, it was muted, it was dark, it was fairly monochromatic, and it was certainly grungy and dirty. So fast forward to 2023, I had those things, the car accident, the pancreas thing, and I just was like, I'm gonna do, like, what am I doing in my life? I have no children, I wanted to have a family, I'm 50, I'm divorced, I don't really know where I'm at. Why am I even in Oklahoma, you know? So I had some friends say, hey, you can stay at our place in New Mexico. That was in November. I'm like, yeah, for how long? They're like, well, we're gone the whole month. I'm like, okay. So this Wicked Pad, some friends of mine know that these people, they're awesome, I wish they were here, but they let me stay in their place in Santa Fe last November, and I thought of this idea of like invading a country and invading, I guess, my subconscious or my psyche. And then I thought of Oklahoma. I'm like this astronaut that crash landed in this red dirt state, and that's what the Mars is. So I started working on the designs. I mentioned Stan. I owe him a great deal of just a big debt of thank you, because he's been such an inspiration. He's kind of a legend in this town, in my world, and he's been through the ringer, and you know, I'm like this guy that's like, I want to kiss everybody's ass and go over and above, and he's like, he's been there and done that, and it's like, dude, fuck them. They are, you know, not always.
I'm just a bigger asshole.
Certain.
He's a bigger asshole than me.
Certain asshole.
But,
A nice asshole.
So I had this idea. So Stan, I built a studio last year in the backyard, and I was like about to start some new work and some commissions, and Stan wheeled in this laser cutter, and I was like, cool, I want to play with that. So I started doing a few things, tests and stuff, and I started doing these collages with just X-Acto blades and running the paper through a printer. I wanted that effect of like a printed paper look, and then do collages out of made paper, basically. So I started that, and then I realized that was a lot of work for, you know, you were just getting a little bit of paper, running it through a press. It's like you got that much color, and then I was losing half of it sometimes when I'd chop it up. So then I just got a brayer, started just rolling brayer paint on paper. And I built a few pieces, and I don't remember what the first one in the show is. I think it might be the one on the other side, because the early ones I was incorporating magazines and other elements from books, from the books that I grew up with that I still have, but which have a lot of Martian connections. But so my goal is to let this year, with this work, let a little bit of the darker side of who I am out. Tell this, it's still a fun concept of going to Mars, but each piece is like a little piece out of my brain or something that happened, whether it was like I'm forgetful, I lose my brain, or I feel like an imposter sometimes when someone goes, oh, your stuff reminds me of Charlie Harper or Ferdinand Leger or whoever it is. Yeah, or you get on, and Instagram's the worst, because you get on there and there's like 400 amazing, and they are kids. They're like some of them are in their 20s, and they're like legends. They look like legends from the work they show, and they're hot too. They're good looking, and it's just like God. So anyway, but each piece became a thing. One of the things in my house is my Eames Lounge chair. I like to sit in at night and watch movies. And sketch, right? Well, that chair, I sent to the upholsterer, I can't believe I'm talking about this. To the upholsterer, that was a year and a half ago, I still haven't got the cushions back. So that's where the captain's chair came from. So if you see the horse, that's kind of, there's a concept. There's an arrow with I'm very conceptual. I think of myself as a designer that builds paintings rather than an artist that paints paintings. I don't know why, I don't know why. My ego can't let myself go, yeah, I'm an artist, you know. I just can't think. It just feels so douchey or something for me. For me, I know I get money doing art for people, and but I think of myself as a designer because I can't help but have control over every little element. And in this show, I tried to let go of some of that control. There's still a lot of precision happening, but there's also some dirt. The colors, my friend Chris Bowman called them Mars tones. I thought that was a great.
Well, I said earth tones first, and then
They're Mars tones, and they're colors in my house. I've got a mid-century modern house that's really cool. I love my stuff, and everything's got to be perfect. Again, another opposite of the chaos. So, but the color of the house is kind of this red, and the curtains are this color, my bedroom's this color, my kitchen's this color. So I didn't know I had this behind me. I thought I'd be talking over there, but they all are kind of very similar in their color palettes. Gosh, I've just been churning it out, talking. Guys, I don't know. So, Gentrifying Mars. You guys know that the Martian symbol, Mars, is the male symbol, the arrow. So I just had this vision initially let me go back to the airport. When I did the airport, when it was announced, I was on the cover of the Oklahoman with the artwork of the lobby, which the lobby was all about the history. I had the whole lobby about the land run because Bob Blackman's like, there's no talking about Oklahoma City history without talking about the land run. And I was like, I thought that was cool. I wasn't from here. I'm not from here originally. I thought that was so cool. A city was formed in an hour, you know? How many cities were formed in an hour? Really, I think none ever that people know. So I thought that was awesome. Well, I find out from a couple other people, once it was put out to the public, that that's a touchy subject for people, the land run is. And I was completely confused and oblivious to this. Well, I met with the First American Museum people, and they're like, yeah, a lot of natives consider it like the last nail in the coffin of, the white man taking our land. And I just didn't understand that. But I started to understand, or started to think about what is showing history, and then what is also celebrating history. What does that mean? And I thought about gentrification, like where do I fit in on this? In my cool house in Edgemere Park that you could buy for 50 years ago for 20 grand, and now it's worth 650 grand or what? I don't know. It's like I don't know where am I in that? But I also just loved the title Gentrifying Mars. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was like, we're trying to go to Mars and we're just fucking up this planet. And it's like, I don't know. I think space travel's awesome, and humans should always reach out beyond themselves. But it's like, let's work on this planet here. Okay, I don't know what else I haven't covered. I think I touched on the main points.
What did it feel like
Yeah, questions.
doing this?
What did it feel like?
Yeah.
Has there been any catharsis? It sounds like
Yeah.
you're basically
Did
describing
it take courage? What was it like?
Yeah, because it's all new mediums. I don't know if I talked about that. I've never done cut paper anything before. And so these are cut paper, painted paper, cut, most of it laser cut. And then I had to learn how to, like, you glue it. Well, then if you put a varnish on it, if you do it the wrong way, it starts to peel up and bubble up and all this stuff. And you can actually see it in some of them. But yeah, it felt really good. And a few people have said, you've changed your style, you know? And I don't think I have at all. It's just dialed a little different. I've just tried a different approach on it. And I don't need to try for a style. I don't ever do. I just do what I want to do, or what I'm entertained by. And people say, oh, it has a look or whatever. So, you asked, how did it feel?
Yeah, or how did it feel doing it? How does it feel now? Because you're coming out of the studio, you realize all this stuff about yourself, and
it feels great now. I think I'm able to enjoy it. It's been a little hard. My brain, I was telling Stacy this, my brain is just like, wants to like find shit wrong with it. I sold 6 pieces. I was like, 6? That's it? And I'm like, dude, that's a fucking third of the show. I mean, I don't know. I was like, but they aren't the big ones. Anyway, the show's been up in 2 days, dude. So my dad was really heavy.
6 Thursday night is what you're saying?
Yeah, so I mean, and now I feel like I'm bragging or something, because I'm really not, but it's just the way my brain works, and but it feels cathartic. I feel proud that I pushed the boundary. I don't know where I'm going next. I may do really clean work. I put off 4 commissions. I think 1 or 2 of them might be here. Sorry. I've put them off with this kind of looming, and I was like, I'll get that done while I'm doing these. Well, I just couldn't. I had to work on these. And every time I had an idea, I just went out and worked on it. And when I look at the clock and 4 hours have gone by and I didn't realize it, that's when I know good things are happening. You know, when I'm playing music and I'm just lost in it, that is when I'm the happiest, you know. And that happened quite a bit. So there were definitely other points where it wasn't so much that way. Yeah, Lawrence?
Question about your logo. What is it made of, and how do you decide which side you want to put it at the bottom of your panels? Some left over here, some over here.
It's on the side. What's it made of? It's cut paper. The physical logo on the pieces, it's just like the pieces, they're cut paper. I use a medium to glue them down, and then I go over that with a medium, and then I seal them and varnish them. The positioning, it's just willy-nilly. I've got it inside a piece on the trigger warnings. It's actually in the gun. It's on the gun, and that piece is about looking for things to kill yourself over, find problems. What issues are there in your life that you can focus on, dude, instead of how awesome it is. So I will say this, I've never been happier in my life than I am right now, and it's been going on since I came back from Santa Fe. And I can't tell you how great things have been. You don't want to jinx it, but I feel really, really fortunate, and I'm able to have gratitude for that, for being able to come up with goofy, crazy ideas and do my thing, and people not only pay me for it, they love it, you know, and they give me love and admiration for it, and that is the greatest gift in the world, you know. It's far greater than being, I don't know, wealthy or whatever, or I don't know.
You mentioned Leger. Do you have other influences you'd like to share with us?
The gallery did an interview with me. I think they're going to do it on the Post, but I have a long list. So when I got into graphic design, I discovered a whole world of the 20th century, the golden era, just like there was the golden era of Hollywood, there was in graphic design and illustration, many of which is post-war stuff, and it wasn't just art or just graphic design. It was art, it was automobiles, it was architecture. I think the United States, there was just a boom of creativity, of positive, hopeful, looking into the future. And there's a huge list of designers from that era. Alex Steinweiss, Jim Flora, those were record cover designers. Charlie Harper is an illustrator. He did a bunch of wildlife things. Many of these artists were kind of inspired by European modernists of the earlier 20th century, like Leger and Picasso and Marc Chagall and Miro and Stuart Davis. I'm weird. When I was a boy, because we moved so much, I didn't have a lot of friends, but I had these encyclopedias. So also, because we moved, I never had a team. Like kids have like their favorite baseball team or whatever. We never had a team. So to this day, I'm really not that into sports. But I loved Stuart Davis when I was like 7 years old. You know, what kid? That's so weird and creepy and nerdy. But I wanted to be, you know, Roy Lichtenstein. I was like, oh my God, this guy does comic books and they hang him in galleries. I'm like, that is so cool, you know. I wanted to someday in my life, have my art up in a gallery. So, who else?
Rothko.
Yeah, Rothko to some degree. Marc Chagall was a big inspiration. My third grade teacher had my desk right by a Marc Chagall poster, and it's called Eye in the Village. And he's looking right into the goat eye. The farmer's looking into the goats. It's at MoMA. I've seen it a couple times in person. That was a huge inspiration. That really, I just would fall in love with those paintings and just, you could crawl into them and live in this magical world, you know? And that's what Marc Chagall, I still love him. He's probably my favorite artist of all time in a way. I never even thought that out loud, but
Rousseau?
Stuart Davis is my favorite American modernist, but yeah.
You know, you had an interesting, childhood and moving around. Did you have any discouragements or interesting encouragements when you were really young on your art? Because,
Yeah, many encouragements from my mother and my grandmother, the women in my family. My father was in that, I remember my dad showing me how to draw a human torso. That wasn't a stick figure, basically. I remember, but he always wanted me to get into political cartooning. He was supportive, though, I mean, he was tough, but he was supportive. But my teachers were awesome. I had Mr. Schnell in third grade in Flint, Michigan, who sat me next to that Marc Chagall poster, and Mrs. Greer in fifth grade. They both passed, because I looked them up. I wanted to say thank you to them, They were so supportive, and I just had them for a year. Think about how powerful that is for a teacher to affect you in that time of your life. Those first 10 years of a human's life are it, really. I mean, so discouragement, every town we moved to, I was the new kid with the funny last name, and then they find out your dad's a preacher. So I was just and then he'd move us to like Flint, Michigan. It was rough. I'd have to get into fights to, defend my little brother and me. It was just like, but then later I realized if I draw the teacher, like, getting his dick bit off or something and pass it around, and everybody's like, whoa! They loved it. So I became like popular through like, and then I get in trouble though, so, I can't believe I told that story. That's true. So other encouragement, then in college, and then my first internship was with Rick Purdue. I don't know. Michael O'Keefe was really tough on me. I think I got straight D's up until maybe an F. And then printmaking, I smoked everyone in that class, and he gave me, I think, a D because I was tardy, and he was knocking off sorry to throw you to the bus. But he was incredibly, it was a great encouragement because he told me that I excelled at this, and it really made me go, I'm doing this, and that was beautiful because I knew what I wanted to do,
Hey Matt, I have a question about the airport commission. Were there any characteristics of the flooring material that you had to learn about that put constraints and dictated some of your design or things?
Yeah, all of it, because I loved architecture, and especially Art Deco and mid-century. There was a lot. I was already a fan of the medium of terrazzo, but I certainly had never worked in it. Randy Marks of the city recognized that my style would translate well to it because I work in lots of big flat colors and stuff, and he is the one that said you should enter in this, you know. So I really do have a great big debt of gratitude for him because before that I let other commissions that I really should have gone out for. I let them just float by, you know. You're too busy. You don't make time to put the time in on that application, and then they just go away. And then someone else did something that was, you know, you could have done anyway. So I had to learn. Yeah, so I had to learn how those mixes work. It's a tough medium because you don't know what it's going to look like till you see it finished. You can only kind of guesstimate. You can do samples, but if anyone that's painted their house knows, that sample looks a lot different in 5x5 than it does on the wall, you know. And if you can imagine that 44,000 square feet, you know, of an over $1 million floor installation, I mean, it was like really, really hard. I would like make these 5x5 samples and then hold them up like this, you know, and I try to picture what that's going to feel like. And so color is the hardest thing for me. It's one of the reasons I did this monochromatic, so that I had a little bit of constraints I kept myself within. So I didn't really worry or think about too much branching out of that. I kept inside of this little world, this Martian world, and I didn't. And anyway, that was kind of great for me to just think about the concepts, you know, think about the ideas. For 2 weeks, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, playing with rocks. Like, what's this porcelain look like with this mirror, with this glass, with this, you know, with this granite, you know, and then just like making little piles. We'd send them off, we'd have the samples made, they'd come back, half would be wrong. So that was like a 2 or 3 day process just to get a sample made. So then I'd be back here, they'd have to ship me the box of these heavy tiles. So that was, but by and large, it was a fairly fun and easy project as far as the execution of it, because I had already designed it. It was like a paint by numbers, you know. I had the contractors were painting it, I was putting in the numbers, you know. So I had to be out there and make sure the mixes were in the right spots. And a few times they weren't, they had to jackhammer them out and pour new in. So they didn't like me much then, but yeah.
I have a question about that. Thousands of people see that, you know, month after month, and because of that attention, have you seen an increase in people contacting you or your social media following? Saying that they
Oh yeah, I mean my whole life changed after that. OETA did a little Gallery America on me, and on the airport specific, and my commissions like quadrupled within a few months. So that actually is still being shown in other markets around the country. So that's what's cool. So sometimes I'll just get a bunch of messages through my website from like different parts of the country. You know, Columbus, a dude reached out to me, this 95-year-old man, he was doing geometric art, just started doing it. And he was working with paints and stencils, and he was sending me like questions. How do you do this way, you know? And I'm like, well, I use this mask this way, and I paint on a medium. And anyway, I thought that was so cool that this retired guy was like inspired enough to do what he's doing and then reach out to me. So, and then I've gotten more commissions since then. So that commission certainly helped the next ones happen. I've done Nashville. I did one big medallion in Nashville at a major concourse intersection. They have up to 80,000 people a day walk all over it. That's my joke. Everybody that comes up in the city walks all over Matt Goad. So, but yeah. So yes, life-changing, that project.
What's next?
I just submitted, Phoenix just put out an RFP and RFQ, request for qualifications is how it's supposed to go. Then they make finalists, then they go, okay, finalists, we're giving you this much money for a proposal. So hopefully I'm from Phoenix, or I lived there for throughout the 80s. So I went in because they had 150,000 square feet of terrazzo floor art they're wanting. And I'm like, I know a guy. So I put a little time into the letter. We sort of have these boilerplate letters that have a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm good at public art because of this, and I have a passion for placemaking, and I have a passion for telling stories, and my work is loved by across cultures and generations. I say stuff like that in it. But then I definitely we do a part of the letter that's like, hey, and it's a cover letter to like your, if you want to, it's like a job application, so you guys say, hey, I've worked with architects, I know how to have a working relationship.
So is this also at the airport?
That's the airport, Sky Harbor Airport, so I would love that, just because I'm from there. It'd be really cool to be back and have my stamp somewhere where I lived like that.
And one of your former teachers going, he drew a picture of you.
Yeah.
Process-wise, like, do you have the shapes cut and then to kind of place them as you go, or do you have a pretty good concept of what you want to like accomplish, and then cut the paper to that like specification?
Yeah, that's it. I have, like I say, that's the designer thing. I've got to know where I'm going. I'm envious of artists that don't know and just lose themselves and come out with this masterpiece. I can't. I wish I could do that. I've tried stuff like that, and as cool as the accidents are sometimes, and there's all kinds of accidents that happen still, but I don't know how to do that. It's scary. I always seek that. I want to be able to learn how to get lost, and then see what happens. I do that in designing. I don't know, where I'm going sometimes. I usually have an idea. If I'm excited about it and I'm into it, I have an idea of what I want. I had the title for this. I wrote a song called, I used to play in a band for many years. What's that? Feel Specters. Yeah, we have a song on a third album called Spelunking in Your Heart that I wrote. I thought that was kind of a fun title, and that's what this is. I'm obsessed with prehistoric cave paintings. I watched this movie. It's called Cave of Forgotten Dreams. If you've never seen it, watch it. It's by what's the filmmaker? German filmmaker. Yes, thank you. It's magical to me that human beings 40,000 years ago were creating art as good or better than they are today. And it's just amazing, the human mind and how we really have emotions and all of that. We're still the same people living in caves. We've just kind of grouped together and made more complex shit, That's amazing to me. Those cave paintings, they're beautiful. They were animations. Sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent about cave paintings, but they were like animated the way they were describing them. They would use a torch because it's pitch black in there, so they would paint by torch, and then they would be drawing these beautifully and very close anatomically to the creatures living out there that I'm sure they had assigned deities to in all of this probably, but they would use the curvature of the cave to reveal the next scene as they move around the curves. So you could picture them in like sitting around like this, a storyteller telling this story with a torch, and then revealing the lion coming in, and it's just like, oh my, if you think of it that way, it's like, these weren't like, Ugg the caveman, these were complex people.
PowerPoint, yeah.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint, the original PowerPoint.
Good swipes, right?
So spelunking in your heart's kind of like that searching for, so these are the cave painting, this is the cave painting stalactites and stalagmites, and this is, you might be on Mars. I thought there was a connection with the heart. The blood, iron in your blood is the same iron that makes the dirt red, and my girlfriend's a geologist, she can. Yes?
You mentioned living in a mid-century modern home. Do you have terrazzo on your floor?
No, I wanted it. I would
Maybe,
love it.
maybe.
You can't, it's expensive. I mean, real expensive. I have a friend that did it to his house. I don't know how he paid for it because it's a lot more. It makes more sense at an airport than it does in a house. You know, because of the expense.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Right. You can buy terrazzo tiles. Those are cool. But I do have a cool slate floor that's awesome in that house. Yeah, that house is a house I love. It's not really the most efficient house. It's in Edgemere Park and it's right on the highway. I hate listening to Broadway Extension the older I get. For years I've told myself it's just the ocean there, you know. Occasionally there's a motorboat.
We live right near Lake Hefner Parkway. It's our waterfall.
Yeah, it's your waterfall.
Yeah, that's my white noise that I
Tell
hear.
yourself that.
Yeah. It works.
I'm the same way. I should get a water feature in the backyard,
Yeah.
maybe, but I don't know. Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
Heck, just for fun, you mentioned getting lost for 4 hours with music on and making this. Is there specific musical influences, or do you find that you like stick in a pocket, a genre, while you're working all on one project?
I stick in a lot of genres that I'm embarrassed because I listen to way too much guided by voices. For this, I listened to a lot of Spaceman 3, which I had playing at the opening. Real droney stuff. They've got some real droney. They have a song that's 45 minutes of drone that they recorded live, and it was as people were entering a theater to watch a movie, they played in the corner with this droney music, and you hear people talking and things. And I love a lot of like I don't know. A lot of music it takes my attention. That stuff doesn't, I can like focus on this but it gives my subconscious this mellow background. I don't know. That's what I worked on this stuff or listened to.
And fitting for the projects.
Yeah.
Visiting Mars, gentrifying.
I can go around and talk about each piece. I'm an audiophile, sort of. I love my record collection, and that piece is about Mono Man. It's about being alone at my age and loving. I don't know. Well, trying to find what you want people to listen to when they think of you or look at you. Or does that make sense? Just conceptually, the similar concept, and I realize they're very similar, is the one next to it, the largest piece, and that's Dust Bowl Static. That's kind of like a UHF TV. I don't know if you guys are older like me. Like the channels back then, it would just do this kind of stripes. Well, his face is blank, but he's got these faces that he can tune in between. That's kind of the concept of that. It's also something I think about with social media. Everybody's putting this face on, like this front. And I think everybody does it whether they want to or not. That's kind of what that's about. The one above the fireplace is the family. It sounds like I need to break out a tiny violin here on this one, but it's like me with the family I never had. Okay, let's talk about something else. It's a skull. I don't know if you see it. It's a skull. This one's the self-surgeon. That's just there was a doctor from Russia in or Antarctica. And he was the only scientist down there for some mission that knew how to do operations. He had to perform an appendectomy on himself because no one in their group knew how to do it but him, and he had to do it on himself. You looked at who?
Dr. Nazir Zudi, right here in Oklahoma City.
Did he do something like that?
Heart surgery.
On himself? What?
Yeah.
I gotta
That's why
look
it's the
that
Nazir
up.
Zudi Center.
Okay. Oh wow, that's cool. Mind blow. So that's what the self-surgeon is. I have a piece.
Aspirational, right?
I have a question about the one that, it's, I would say it's called a horse, it's a horse and it's like an arrow.
Yeah.
When I saw that the other night, I was thinking Man on the Lawn Show. And that's,
Oh,
isn't that the
Is
land?
that
And I had no
Unsigned
idea what that was.
Is it
Is
That is Sunlands.
Okay, so it was more native than it was, but like I said, that was the first thing that kind of I love that.
Yeah, that's the Martian. I thought that was kind of a, I originally wanted to do a brochure for a housing development that's like one of these marketing pieces that you go to like this fancy gated community type thing, but it's on Mars.
3D
So-
phones, right?
Yeah, I had the whole thing. It was like, welcome to, what's the name of the region? I'm drawing a blank now. Anyway, Olympus Mons, or whatever the name of the region of Mars is, and, enjoy beautiful skyscapes 487 days a year, whatever the Martian year is. Anyway, I had all this kind of generic jargon, and I was going to use each piece as another illustration in the brochure. I thought that was a little, didn't do it, but they all have some sort of loose connection to the overall concept, so.
Matt, you said that you're happier now than you've ever been in the past. Do you leave a little piece of yourself in these pieces from what you've been explaining? And you said earlier that you have really kind of connected on a deeper level with some things. Do you think that that's why you're in a happier place, or instead of just pushing it away, you're kind of grasping it and exploring it a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so. That for sure. I quit drinking. That's been a huge boost to not have that depressive element going into my chemistry every day. I've been really happy with this work. I've been enjoying it. I've really been enjoying the results, and this show is the ultimate. I mean, to be able to have all these people out that I respect and admire come and pay their respects. That sounds funny. It was very, very fulfilling. It is a weird feeling when you finish something. There's a little postpartum thing. I've talked to other artists about it. You kind of feel empty, like, what am I doing now? It's like, so I don't know. I don't know if that'll hit. I feel pretty good about it. I feel proud of myself, and without whatever going too extreme. I don't know, positive or negative. I feel good about it. So.
Other than the obvious Oklahoma, you have the state on that picture, right? Or is it just something that I see to be Oklahoma?
This?
Yeah.
No, that's just unintentional.
Oh, well, it looks like Oklahoma to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the
Panhandle?
capital.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that was intentional, but,
This guy?
Yeah.
Can't unsee it now.
Subconscious.
Could be subconsciously, yeah.
Look how brilliant you are. At least the other.
Oh yeah, I meant to do that. Yeah, there's probably all kinds of things you could find. I don't know. Take some mushrooms and look at them.
We're putting your psychologist out of business. We're all gonna analyze.
I stopped seeing him actually. No, he was.
Maybe you're also out there because of this thing.
Could be. I don't know. Guys, thanks so much. Such an
Thank
honor.
you.
Such a great time. Let me try to do this.
Sideways.
I see rock and roll stars do this on stage. And they get like 25,000 people. All right, thank you. You guys, let me know if there's still a lot for sale. If you want any background on it.
showing the next time sitting there.
Imagine